Welcome to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Discover the personal drive, professional journeys, and business strategies that have made a real impact. It's success from the inside out.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today we're chatting with Brad Naeth, who's a strategic, innovative, and forward-thinking leader with extensive P&L ownership experience in various industries in the oil and gas and industrial sectors. So first of all, welcome to the show, Brad. And do you want to start off by maybe telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you're working on?
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me, Matt. A little bit about myself. I've spent the past 20 years in industry, mostly with one employer and surviving through several acquisitions, but started out coming out of a technical school, Nate, with a mechanical engineering background, and really kind of hopped right into operations leadership. Was recruited in a management training type program, and a year and a half into that, took on operations management roles and kind of, I guess, navigated the challenges, as it were. Played several different roles through the organization. And today I'm with Saber. We're a custom manufacturing business in the electrical space, so servicing a lot of the same clients that I've worked with in the past, but focus more on custom design and manufacturing.
Okay. Obviously, your background with the mechanical engineering then probably plays well into that.
Yeah, funny enough, it's an electrical business, electrical and instrumentation, but the components that we build do have a significant amount of mechanical design because we do the enclosures and a lot of other things. One fun fact about myself, I came out of a mechanical design education early on, and I've yet to personally design anything. I like Lego, and got right into construction, kind of getting things done right off the hop. I like building things and seeing progress, and so I've always played on the execution and delivery side of things versus design. So this new role brings a new twist because I do have a team of designers, which I get to work hand in hand with, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard that a lot actually on specifically when you're on the mechanical engineering or the design engineering and those types of roles that they played with a lot of Lego as kids, and that kind of their mind is working that way in the creation.
Yeah, I grew up on the farm too, so driving a tractor around and around in the field and seeing progress is kind of embedded in my mind. So when I do something, I really do like to see progress right away. I'm not sure if I would do well in the agile world where it seems like you circle back on the same problem all the time. But yeah, it's progress is big for me, especially like if I can see it, right? So
yeah. Did you do a lot of tinkering on the farm as well on the equipment?
I did everything. Yeah, when you grow up on the farm, I would say you're one step away from child labor, and basically you do everything as a family, right? So everybody pitches in, and I actually really enjoyed that upbringing, and kind of I miss it. I regret not staying into it somewhat now, but yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hear that a lot from people as well. Well, and that's one of the reasons why, if you look back a couple generations and you've got these massive families on the farm, you have to have all the kids to do the labor, right?
Yeah. And once all the kids leave, then your dad goes and buys all brand new equipment so he can do it all himself, right? That's how it works.
Oh, they can afford it at that point, right? If you don't have all the kids around. Yeah. What's that stat about kids cost you something like $260,000 between the time they're 0 and 18?
Yeah. Well, at least 2 cows a year, right? So, and you're not eating as much, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's good. I think I read you did your executive MBA. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So I've done a few different stints since I finished at Nate. The first stint was through Harvard. Actually, they don't actually have an executive MBA program. Of course, it has to do with their credibility and being attached to an executive MBA. They offer what's called executive education. Specifically, there's 3 programs: GMP, AMP, and PLD. They're various versions of an executive MBA, but they target different audiences, I guess, from a participant perspective. And so the PLD program was the one that I fell into, and yeah, I spent 18 months in that program on and off campus. So got a really good rundown on business, a lot of case study, basically drinking from a fire hose. I refer to it as it was the most intensive program I've ever taken. And then, 5 or 6 later, I got bored, and I'm a continuous learner guy. So I decided to go and actually get a master's through Rotman to say I actually have a degree. And they have a global executive MBA program, which was really exciting. It's international business. You travel the world. I think my last count was 26 cities, 11 countries, 6 continents in 18 months, and do your real job at the same time. So that was pretty fun. That one was a different type of intensity for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's one thing that people don't understand a lot is when you're doing these programs, it's not like you're taking a year off to do it. You're working your regular job, whether that's 30 hours a week or 60 hours a week. It's you're doing it.
I was pretty fortunate to have a lot of support from my employer. Worked with some great managers, and also, I also have 3 young kids. So my wife is an all-star. She's a superwoman behind the scenes. Not many probably would have got permission to do that.
That's good. That's good. Good for you.
Yeah.
You had enough brownie points at that point to ask.
Yeah, well, I stocked up a bunch in her favor that I still have lots to pay back. That's for sure.
You have a deficit. Yeah. As long as she's not charging interest on it, that's okay.
No.
And for those that don't know, I mean, like Rotman is an amazing school. It's some people might argue this, but it's the top business school in the country. It's one of the top business schools in the world. So to be able to go out there and do it that's got to be a cool experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. Being part of the University of Toronto and the Rotman community was cool in its own. But the fact that this program specifically exposed you to not only the local program and the network that comes with that, but the international community. A big part of it was when we were traveling into the different countries, and we were actually on campus at different locations. We would spend 1, 2, 3 days, usually 2 days. We would go out and we would meet with local businesses. We would meet up with their executive teams and/or senior executives, and just talk business, get exposed to international culture, the differences in how businesses run and operate, and some of the do's and don'ts. Some of the big companies that I know I really enjoyed meeting with was Ritz-Carlton. We met in the most expensive hotel room in the world in Hong Kong, and on the harbor with the executive team of Ritz-Carlton, and had a discussion about all things hotels. That was pretty cool. We had a chance to meet with some of the executives from Tata, which is basically a large Indian company that owns, Land Rover and Jaguar, and some of these, in India, they're massive and they're very diversified. But that was a pretty cool experience. And yeah, so those are just examples of kind of the exposure that you get within the Rotman program, that it's very difficult, I think, to have those opportunities without getting the support of that community. And then obviously just the tutoring and the training and all the content and such that we went through was really good.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Just diving back into the work that you're doing now. So what exactly are you doing in that mechanical industry, working on the electrical side? Like what does that look like? And I mean company specific, and then we'll get to you afterwards.
Yeah. So specifically here at Saber, my job as a director is all things operations within a division of, actually 2 divisions of this organization. One division is specifically around the high voltage switchgear and switchboards. We design and assemble and manufacture and deliver those kind of collective components to clients in North America, all over North America. And then the other division is it's e-houses. So think of, any
Oh,
large electrical buildings out on commercial or industrial sites that would house any kind of electrical gear. We would get the buildings set up, and then we would install all the components on the inside and send them to site. So kind of a manufacturing, fabrication, assembly environment. And my role as a director is it's interesting because I don't provide the technical support for the business. I'm not an electrician,
mhm.
nor am I going to try and act like one. My skill set is really in all things operations, strategic, building teams, setting organizations up for the long haul. Really, a lot of the fundamental things that in a fast-growing business would maybe get skipped in an attempt to just try to service the industry. Saber has grown quickly in the last couple of years. I mean, just in the last 3 months since I've been here, the team has grown from 15 to 24, which is pretty quick growth when it comes to engineering of the type, right, or project management staff. So yeah, young team, lots of talent, lots of experience, but as we grow, really need to make sure we have good processes, procedures. We're developing our employees. We have a big knowledge transfer challenge as some of the more experienced people move on or decide to explore new things. We got to make sure that that expertise and that knowledge stays in-house, because we are a custom manufacturer, and there are not many organizations out there that do what we do. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That knowledge transfers, those damn baby boomers, they all think that they should be retiring now, right? And
yeah.
that is a big thing. And
Mhm.
particularly in an industry like your, and there's obviously the technical
Mhm.
knowledge that goes
Yeah.
on, but man, is there a lot of stuff that gets held up in people's heads, right?
Oh,
That's not in a textbook.
yeah. And if you don't have a system or way of capturing that and then passing it on, or at least building inherently into the process, um, you can get yourself into some serious trouble as far as business continuity and just
Mhm.
growth and development of the existing employees. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of what I'm focusing on and working with the team on here.
Yeah. You obviously have a great skill set and some education to go along with that as well.
Yeah,
For somebody looking to maybe not get in this field, this is a fairly
yeah.
specific field, but just get into that workforce and looking and saying, you know what, I really like doing this, or I like doing this, and this is a person that I aspire to, somebody like yourself. What type of skills do you believe that have been the most successful, or contributed the most to your success?
Oh boy, that's a great question. When I think back at my career so far, I really do consider myself like a pure generalist, and um, I wouldn't say I'm the best at anything or I know everything about something,
Okay.
but I would say that the ability to kind of look at all things operational, and take on different challenges to round out that overall experience, is probably the strategy. Well, not probably, it has been the strategy that I've taken to date. And so, some simple rules, like if you're really coming into your career and you're aspirational, it's, if you get presented a challenge, you almost want to think of it like never say no. Like, to be quite honest,
Mhm.
there are things that are scary. There are things that you may not know a lot about, but I think leaning on your problem solving, your work ethic, your network, your ability to leverage the skill set and the teams and the knowledge around you, take that and throw it into an environment that you may not know a lot of things about. Uh, it can be very, very satisfying, or it can be, and also very, very good for your development, right? And I've just consistently done that. I mean, I'll give you some examples. I was in construction and pipelining and facility type stuff for years, and stayed within that kind of bubble. But then, hey, we've got this trucking business. We want you to come oversee this transportation, heavy crude trucking business with 10,000 tires on the road every day, 200 and some truck drivers. We'd like you to take that and run it. And we got some strategic initiatives here, but we want you to come take that on. It was like, I never really thought about that, but yeah, let's give it a go, right? And really, when it comes down to it, I find it very intriguing that when you look at the principles of a business and some of the core operating, I'm going to call core operating principles, it actually is very transferable. So if you can use kind of an analytical playbook of some sort, look at the challenges in front of you, and then just address them one by one and make progress, you could I mean, the sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing that I'm doing here. I mean, I've never been in this space, but there's a lot of things that are common, and that's where I can bring a lot of value to the table.
Yeah. Well, and that's why you have the technical experts in those organizations, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be, well, you see it in big companies as well when they're hiring CEOs that might not have the experience in that industry. It's just a company, you hire out the technical expertise of it. And
yeah, and I would say that we undersell a lot of times in our employees, especially high potential employees. I think we undersell their ability to, I guess, lead, but in a more defined context, that would be not leveraging, but bringing the best out of the people that work around you, mm-hmm. or being able to extract the information or the guidance or the opinion or build the plan together as a team. That skill set is not easy to come by, especially naturally. And I mean, I think back to when I started my first gig as an ops manager. I mean, I was 23 years old and I had 150 employees. Like, none of those, like not a single one of them were younger than me. So I had to very quickly learn how to do that specifically. And yeah, I think that's a skill set that everyone should try and expose themselves to and expand on for sure.
Mm-hmm. There's I don't know if it's a radio ad or it's on a podcast ad or something like that, but there's an insurance company. And I always laugh when I hear this commercial because they talk about they're there for small business and we are the small business insurers and we understand that your business is unique and unlike anybody else's. And every time I laugh because I think, well, it's not. Nobody has a unique business. I mean, they might have a unique product, but even then they probably don't. There's nothing unique about our businesses. It's just
break it down, right?
Yeah.
There's some commonalities there, and in a lot of cases, the challenges you're running up against can be replicated or at least have been seen before, right? So,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. With your team, you said 24. You're up to 24 right now.
Yeah, the total group size. Now that's just on the office staff size. We also have 26 or 27 folks out on the manufacturing floor. That would be all the trades and the supervision folks. They don't directly report through me, but we basically oversee a lot of the work that they're doing and provide direction and stuff there. Yeah.
So one of the things I really like to ask people that do run larger teams like that is, as we've got these multi-generational organizations, right? Like you've got a lot of different generations in there, whether it's baby boomers or Gen Z or Gen X or whatnot. How do you go about handling the different? Well, there's different ways to handle them, right? Like baby boomers want to be treated one way, Gen Z wants another. Everything is different. How do you go about handling those different types of personalities? Because I know that there's a lot of people that struggle with it.
Yeah. Well, I think you nailed it with just saying, how do you go about dealing with challenges with different personalities? I think recognizing, first of all, that you can't address the same issue the same way with everyone. I took some training very early on in my career, situational leadership, which is reflective of the DISC profile, and being able to kind of just take some time to understand someone or a group of people, understand their motivators and drivers, understand how they like to learn, and then kind of applying a strategy that suits them more than maybe yourself is I think is imperative. And companies like to come out with standardized training policies and procedures, and I get it. You got to have some standardization, but when it comes down to the individual level, you really got to be tactical. You got to spend some time to understand your employees. You can't paint the whole team with the same brush. The team that I'm working with right now, they're, it's a lot of the younger generation. I mean, some of these folks come straight out of state, straight out of technical institutes and straight into Saber. And, we've got some folks who have moved up very quickly into lead roles, and understanding how they lead, how they like to lead, and understanding, their team members and the culture that they've created. It's imperative. And then on the boomer side, it could be entirely different, right? It's, it can be very black and white, and can be very just like, give me the goods and what do we need to get done, and let's get to work and shake all the fluff, right? Like, there's this balance in between, but understanding who you're talking to, and addressing those folks in different ways. I'm a very collaborative person. I would say that I provide more leisure than most to teamwork, team input and opinion. I lean way to the far end when it comes to when we make any changes or decide to do anything significant. I try to at least solicit a lot of opinion before we make a decision. And that can be good because the team members feel like they're engaged and they're part of the solution, but also bad sometimes because it is a bit of a slower process. So
Yeah.
Balancing
the pros and cons of both, right?
Yeah, expediting, figuring your way out how to do that and still have success is interesting.
Do you think that's helped you? I'll preface this in a second, but do you think that's helped you out quite a bit in your career and being able to run these teams? I'm just thinking back, if you think about like a personality assessment, and DISC is always the one that I go to because it's the first one I learned. Typically people in your role are going to be high D, right? And for those that don't know, it's that dominant trait. That is very typically, if you go across the board of people in executive positions, a lot of the time they have that role. And one of the challenges is that with that role, and that's me, one of the challenges with that role is that we're very quick to just do something. And then you look back a day later, or 10 minutes later, 2 months later, and go, oh shit, what did I just do? Like, why did I do that? How did I not get that input? Do you think by ensuring that people have that ability to at least maybe not influence a decision, but have their voice heard, has that helped you out from that team building aspect?
100%. I mean, my disc profile is it's like a W almost. So it's got like high D, but then because I'm engineering somewhat background, I got a high C. So I have an internal conflict that sometimes balances my own approach, which is good, I find. I want to make decisions. I want to see progress, but I also want to see all the details. So, I think that executives who are very dominant, the successful ones at least, I think they find a way to get that done. And it may be through their own actions, or it may be through leveraging their team around them. A lot of times, you're so busy, you may not be able to get in front of the employees, but having a focus on making sure that employees have a say or have an opinion, and that their ideas are considered. There's different ways of going about that. I'm very hands-on. I'm a big coffee talk guy. I grab a coffee and I go and say, hey, did this just yesterday. A couple of new employees went in, shut the door, said, give me the goods. You've been here for a month, right? Like, how's it going? What are you seeing? You worked at another company before, anything good we can bring over? How's things? Just the general informal, cooler coffee talk stuff. I actually cultivate a lot of that just through that.
Well, and it's that relaxed environment, right? Where it's not like they're in there for a review or anything. It's
like, don't book 10 meetings in a row and keep these guys tied up in meetings. They don't like that, right? There's different ways you can extract that information and also keep them engaged. So
well, and it's interesting on the just to keep on the DISC side of things, because again, everything has its pros and cons, right? And you can go down and for anybody that hasn't done any of those assessments, like, go and do it. I think there's a bunch of free ones out there as well. because it's kind of fascinating. I mean, you kind of know who you are, but you don't necessarily. And the biggest thing is how you interact with those other groups.
Yeah.
And no matter what, we all have the cons on
Yep.
who we are, and it's about overcoming those almost, and overcoming maybe the shortcomings that are there to say,
Yep.
okay, I know that, for myself, I make decisions too quickly, so I have to force myself to slow down. Do
Yeah.
you do anything like that with yourself?
Yeah. I definitely have some areas where I've I've learned to recognize when those red flags go up before I act. That quite honestly has come through some failures. I think we all learn through failing a bit.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as you get kind of further on in your career and the more significant the challenges you take on, I think the more, I would say, not relaxed, but more kind of laid back you get in that initial response.
Mhm.
That has been a big one for me. Anytime I get into a situation where I feel frustrated, I want to fire back. I want to get something out right away. That whole take 2 minutes, that whole type something up and then delete it, don't send it out, and then think
Yeah.
about it, and then type something up again. Like these iterative processes around kind of managing that initial reaction and processing and thinking, that comes with time. I not like that's something that was difficult for me. And so yeah, that one of my flags with being a D is just that, I like, as soon as I see something, I want to solve the problem. I have the solution before I even look at the problem sometimes.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, just understanding that you do really need to do a better assessment and take some time to think about, especially things that are significant or could create maybe the wrong reaction if you approach it the wrong way, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a delicate balancing act, I'll say.
yes, yeah,
Always a
100%. And
challenge.
I'm a huge problem solver. Like I love that stuff. Like again, Lego or like those little fidget toys, like the little
Oh yeah.
puzzles that you can buy. Like my wife
Yeah.
bought me a bunch for Christmas one year, and I love those things, right? Like give me something I can
Mhm.
fidget with, and yeah. So that's one for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's many more, but
Mhm. Mhm. No, that's great. Um, you're obviously a well-educated person. Is there like for somebody listening saying, I want to learn more about business. I want to learn more
yeah.
about this. What are some of the top things that you've experienced, whether it's books, podcasts, lectures, things like that?
Yeah, well, the one thing that you can't replace is experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so if there's any way within your current environment, if you're working, to just explore, right? Take on challenges, ask to be engaged in committees, take on the special projects, look for mentors in the business that you're in, or even in the industry that you who might be able to spare some time to give you some knowledge sharing. For myself, I'm actually a big leadership book guy. And I'm not a digital. I buy hard copies
Oh,
and
you're
they
the
sit
hard
in my
copy
library
guy.
at home.
Yeah.
I love seeing them there in case I ever need them again. But yeah, I do enjoy that stuff, and I love reading life experiences. So a lot of business biographies. Key players who have been through the ringer a few times. There's a lot of kind of practical learnings that you can take right away to whatever challenges you might be going through.
Yeah.
Podcasts are big too. I mean, when I'm working out or just around the yard, we live on an acreage, so out doing some yard work or whatever. Yeah, podcasts. Definitely have a few podcasts that I like to listen to lately, more business and news related, but
Hmm.
yeah, for your kudos, Matt. Podcasts are always a great resource.
The best resource out there, right? The
Yeah,
best.
yeah,
Well, Brad, if anybody wanted to learn more about what you guys are doing, or get a hold of you, where would they go to do that?
yeah. So feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I've got a profile there. Also, Saber.ca, that's our company website. So you'll get to see kind of what we're up to. Also,
Mhm.
our social media for Saber on both LinkedIn and I believe we're on Facebook. And then I have a personal website that I keep mostly up to date, mostly just for kind of tinkering around. And I do a blog once in a while on there at bradnaeth.ca. So you can check that out. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm always up for coffee, and I enjoy meeting people and networking and just looking to expand, obviously, my reach in the whole Calgary business environment. So
Awesome. We'll certainly appreciate having you on the podcast today, and wish you all the best of luck in the future here.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, have a good day.
You've been listening to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Want to be our next guest? Visit beyondwealthpodcast.ca/guest. See you on the next episode.